Hello friends! In this video I will talk about the sign of Libra and the archetype it represents, and about the most important astrological events that await us in October 2023. On the 14th of October is new moon in Libra, which is also a solar eclipse. And on the 28th is going to be full moon in Taurus, which is a lunar eclipse. So you know we have eclipse season now in October. Then Sun is until the 22nd in Libra, then is in Scorpio. Mercury is until the 13th in Libra, then in Scorpio. Venus is in Leo until the 9th, then is in Virgo. Mars until the 12th in Libra, then in Scorpio. Jupiter retrograde in Taurus, Saturn retrograde in Pisces, Uranus retrograde in Taurus, Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And only one big planet is turning direct, that's Pluto, at the 11th of October will be direct. Better days of the month are the 3rd of October, when Mercury is in trine with Pluto. Then 20th, when the Sun and Mercury are in conjunction. Then 22nd, when Venus and Jupiter will form a trine. And 31st, when Venus will be in trine to Uranus. And about these two aspects with Venus, I will say something more later. So on October the 8th, Mars, that will be in Libra, will square Pluto in Capricorn. And this is very challenging day. It is happening, this square, at 27 degrees. So all people who have planets around the 27 degrees should be very careful this day. Of course, we always have such transits, so you should not be too scared, you know. But just escape something if you can. Some big action. And as you can see from what has already been said, from the 9th to the 13th, the energy slowly changes because Pluto becomes direct and personal planets change signs at that time. Right after that, on October 14, is the new moon in Libra and solar eclipse. So during first 8 days of the month, the energy is similar to that one in September, and after that there is a shift. And it's a big shift with those eclipses. When the Sun is in Libra, that is from the 24th of September, it is a time of judgment. Saturn is exalted in Libra and helps her measure and judge properly. We can say that from the vernal equinox to the autumnal equinox, the Sun rules. And from the autumnal to the vernal equinox, Saturn rules. Thus the year is divided into a light and a dark half. And Libra herself likes the black and white color combination the most. Or of course she likes also blue and red, which is this contrast, the same. Or for example green and pink, which is similar to black and white. These are these opposites of hot and cold. So there are many old calendars, for example Serbian calendar and some other, who know that the year is actually divided into two parts, not many, just two parts, and they know about the polarity of light and dark, and the evidence for these are holidays that are celebrated in one or another part of the year. However, the world is not so black and white, as you can think now after this discussion. Taoism, philosophy of Taoism teaches us that everything that is dark contains light within itself, and light contains darkness within itself. And this is the only way that how these two polarities can coexist, you know, because they have a bit of the opposite. In the Christian calendar, the balance is held in the hand of Archangel Michael, who is celebrated a bit later in November, not now, but has similar function. He measures souls. So we all easily accept the experiences we have gained through our light principle, but it is very difficult for us to accept our dark side. This dark side in astrology is represented by Saturn, and Indians consider it part of karma. Spiritual sciences teach that there is no personal and spiritual development until we accept our dark side and integrate our karmic experiences, which are dark only because we don't see them, not dark because they're bad. And these karmic experiences actually are almost that what Jung calls the shadow in his psychology, so this dark side of personality, which man pushes into his subconscious. Let's continue the story about the sun. Every year, sun passes through the sign of Libra, so it is judged every year, but also every day happens the same thing, because the time of Libra in 24-hour cycle is 6 o'clock in the afternoon, when the sun, when we see the sunset, start seeing the sunset. Likewise, each of us lives the same story. We all live the story of the sun. The sun is symbol of our consciousness, and Saturn is symbol of our karma, or big part of subconscious. This is how we regularly go through the cycle of conscious and unconscious states, and thus we mature, or if you like, we learn about ourselves, because both phases make sense and are necessarily in the process of gaining self-knowledge. Libra is the balance of the dark and light, male and female, active and passive, everything that is combination of the opposites. I talk about that in my quite old video, maybe you can still find it on YouTube. It is called Libra, Myth and Characteristics. So Libra is ruled by Venus. And the next question arises, how Venus can fulfill such an important function to be the judge if we know her as the Queen of Passion? Well, the point is that Venus has many forms. All of the asteroids that represent some female deities actually are some forms of Venus itself. I mean here of Pallas Athena, Ceres, Juno or Juno as you call it, Vesta. Eventually there can be some other asteroids that are actually female goddesses. So when the sun is in Libra, Venus transforms into Pallas Athena. She appears blindfolded, she has eyes covered, to judge neutrally. Maybe you know these presentations of Pallas Athena where she has like some shawl on her eyes and stays with the sword, and sometimes has the bird on her arm. Libra is otherwise an emotionalist sign called air sign, because Libra's task is to bring everyone into a state of being aware of their value and accepting the consequences of their actions. And to do so, she does not need emotions. I'm talking here about the archetype of Libra. Not as many Libras themselves will feel here offended, but I'm not talking about Libra. But of course that every Libra has a bit of this, and that's good. That it should be like that. So there is no place for emotions and for compassion. Let me remind you that Saturn is exalted in Libra, and that is even one of the best roles that he has. So Libra reminds us that we have created our future with our past. What we did before, we will have later. So how dark this dark period will be depends on that what we did before. So now imagine that October of the year 2023 is the time when somebody will measure somebody's souls and judge. And it will be some period like finishing some calculation that was made before. And this is all now this year further emphasized by the solar eclipse in Libra. So you are asking who can be on trial this year? Could that be neo-colonizers or neo-fascists perhaps? Well, it would be wonderful if that is the case. The solar eclipse in Libra on October 14 makes everything new in a big style. Otherwise, every solar eclipse symbolizes the end of a ruler or the end of someone's rule. I talk about the October eclipses in my video for September 2023 and also in annual video for the year 2023. And I recently recorded in Istanbul or Constantinople to say another video called Call on the Fall of the Empire or maybe Fall of the Empire. So I will not repeat that the same thing here. If you are interested about that, what I was talking about in previous videos, check those videos, please. Now I will say something that I haven't talked about before. Namely, where there is one form of Venus, there is also another. Therefore, where there is a judge, there is also corruption, or there is money. In astrology, Venus herself symbolizes money and the ability to attract what one wants. It also symbolizes our desires, all the law of attraction. Therefore, we can further expect that there will be attempt to bribe the judge. Saturn doesn't mind accepting a bribe either, although he knows very well what will come later, but he simply surrenders when it's a money thing. So next you see there is a lunar eclipse in Taurus on October 28, the last one on the Taurus-Scorpio axis. And what is important here? Well, it is important that the ruler of Taurus, like the ruler of Libra, is again Venus. However, in Taurus, this archetype talks on a new form and it looks different a little bit. So Venus in Taurus is no longer Pallas Athena. Now she becomes Aphrodite, the seductress and lover, and often can be Demeter or Ceres in Roman mythology, therefore Mother Earth. Also, she can have other forms. So we can expect numerous economic and financial challenges on a global level as a result of these eclipses. Why challenges, you would ask? Because Venus herself, who is the ruler of both eclipses, in the second half of the month is in the weakest possible position. It is in its fall, as we say in astrology, which means that it is in the sign of Virgo. It is also interesting that the eclipses on the Aries-Libra axis, which will last during 2023 and 2024, speak of war and peace. This means that both will be a topic. Sometimes people will extremely talk about war, it will be dangerous, and there will be periods when everybody will talk about peace. We will go through this like that. So we know from history that wars are fought because of money and ideologies. In October, the first one is emphasized, money. The effect of the eclipse will probably last longer, maybe half of a year even, and otherwise we have been preparing for this few months before it happens. Only the eclipse in Taurus, the last one in our time, next one in Taurus will be in 18 years from now, predicts significant changes in the world of economy and in monetary policy. They're saying that there is going to be a new money, and maybe it will be digital, maybe some other, we will see. But the monetary policy of the world will change. It will not remain the same as now. And what to say about the economy and banks? Many banks are bankrupt already. The debtors do not want to pay their debts, that's more than clear. Not only because of this eclipse, but because also of the planets that are transiting through the sign of Pisces. So, because they don't want to pay their debts, they will try to cause economic collapse and will work to expand the war conflicts. As we know from the past, when debts accumulate, then they create a war to annihilate everything. That happened in history. But the thing is that this autumn is very, very deceptive. And it is not really clear if they can make such war. We said we are going to be on the border. Little bit of war, little bit of peace. So no extreme happenings in this sense. Well, this is also in accordance with so-called agendas, that we are talking about in last few years. And we already know many of them, how to make the disaster. So I will say here that plan that many of us know, but some people don't. So that I will say it here. So first there was the disease and fake treatment, because they have the idea of depopulation. They also want to create lack of food and water, and they are talking constantly about climate change. And finally, because of all of this, especially because of the climate change, it will be necessary to reduce the carbon dioxide in the air. So how they will do that? Well, they will do that because when people start paying for the air they breathe, or factories start paying for the air where the carbon dioxide is going. But that is not all, that people will pay for that. They breathe. There are other things. People cannot move anymore. They will not be possible to move. They will be without cars, because cars are also connected with this carbon dioxide emission, and they change climate and things like that. So people have to be without cars and stay where? Well, they have to stay in these 15 minutes cities. They already have some marketing for that. Maybe you notice that on the internet. And in those so-called 15-minute cities, they will have everything at their fingertips. But it will also be a concentration camp, and nobody talks about that. So people cannot soon would be created this situation that people cannot go out of there. How that would happen? For now it is possible. They're making this experiment in Oxford, and in Oxford people pay to go out from this 15-minute zone. But later on they don't want this, of course. There are going to be antennas, and they will be activated and stun anyone who steps over the line. And then, of course, what comes after that, or at the same time, this is one government, one currency, and one unique decision-making center in the world. And of course, then a big brother appears. He, of course, appears only virtually. And he would have also various forms of appearance, like our Venus in our story that we had at the beginning of the video. And everybody would trust him. And he would decide everything. He would be the one in the future who measures the souls, not some archangels or some other beings like that. He would do that. And to whom? Well, to those who are chipped bio-robots that he has under control. Well, that can sound funny to you, and it is funny, in a way it is funny, but it's also very tragic. Even if it sounds like a movie or a book, unfortunately, utopias and dystopias of this type are not alien to our world, and we have already experienced a bit of that in the year 2020, not to mention the Second World War. So why not now more and even more crazy? We should be just aware of that really they are preparing something completely crazy. How to know what they are preparing? Well, we should regularly monitor what is happening in the world. They tell us everything. Just we need to read everything upside down. Because in a perverted world, which is finally a normal phenomenon when civilization collapses, everything is reversed. So I talked about that in my video, Era of Aquarius and its Shadow. Watch the video if you're interested of that, what they are saying and what should be. But you can also take, as an example, summit of the new financial pact that was held in Paris this summer, where they talk about the climate change and similar dangerous nonsense. So read about that, what they conclude there, and read it upside down and backwards also, and then you will understand when they speak about that there are not going to be hungry people in this planet. It means that they will make people to be hungry. When they speak about protection of nature, it means actually that they want to destroy nature and things like that. Just learn to read. I have said in some of my videos before that I don't think that they will repeat the agenda of fear of diseases and false healing because of Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. But they can also continue with climate change, causing hunger, spreading fear and delusion in many other ways. Regardless of everything, this will also pass, like everything passed. We should not be worried too much. We should live our lives and just know what is happening, but not be bothered too much. That's very important, because that means that we are not influenced by this energy that they create. And finally, Taoism, this Chinese philosophy, Taoism, is saying that Tao keeps turning, So now it's important that we choose, are we going to be in the future on the black or on the white side? Until recently it was better to be in the West, but now things will change and you will see that how, and of course that many will move to another parts of the world. Libras, Aries, Taurus and Scorpios are at their crossroads of life. Some of them are already one step further, some are yet to come. But we also all have this astrological signs somewhere in our horoscope. So we all should listen in October carefully what the universe is saying to us. We are all preparing for something. Just those signs have bigger decisions than us. From October 12 to the 29, we do not make important decisions, but we listen and think about that what to do. Each eclipse brings an opportunity for change, and it is only up to us to decide how we will experience this, because this is very, very special moment when this universal plane and human plane interact in the time of eclipses, and really big shifts are possible. And we can use them like for good, in a good way. We said that on the 22nd and 31st, Venus makes positive aspects to Jupiter and Uranus, and is their ruler when they are in Taurus. These are quite good days for understanding what needs to be done later, while 22nd of October brings important knowledge. 31st brings the possibility of harmonious changes. Whether these are changes about relationship, value changes, or something else doesn't matter. However, since October the 10th, Venus is in its decline, as we said. It is in Virgo. So Venus is in a weak position where all these important events are happening, and she's their ruler. So changes for the better will not come to us quickly, or will not come at once, but let's be wise, patient and humble like the sign of Virgo, and everything will be fine. Then Sagittarius, Taurus and Virgo people should be especially careful about this deceptive luck that these aspects on the 22nd and 31st will bring, and they should be especially careful not to start anything new on those days. Better not. But there can be some harmonious things, and things can happen in a nice way, but just do not start anything new, because if you start something, that you initiate something with this pattern which is very unstable. Let's briefly mention also mundane astrology. I talk about the fact that on the 14th of October there is going to happen so-called Great American Eclipse. It is named so because it will be visible at the entire American continent. However, China is traditionally considered a Libra, and it celebrates its national day under the sign of Libra. China faces big challenges this year and next year, and it will have to abandon some of its previous paths. We know that the global predictor was preparing China to be new technocratic center of world rulership, and we know that China was quite satisfied with this role. They were not against that as they were behaving in the last years, but now we will see whether China has the strength or desire to stop this, to oppose to this plan, and what they will do. I guess after the eclipse we will soon see some happening in China and its region. I would also like to mention once again that Pluto is direct from the 11th. The 11th day of October is quite critical. Watch out for that, what is happening, especially if you have planets around the 27th degree of cardinal signs, which are Aries, Libra, Cancer, or to say Crab, and Capricorn. This movement of Pluto sets events on micro level. But just it takes time, it is not going to come immediately, but something big is happening with Pluto. So, because Pluto is direct, when eclipses happen, we can really expect big movements. We have talked many times that Pluto in Capricorn completely and irreversibly changes the ruling structure in the world. By the way, after this transit, there are not going to be old Capricorns in this world anymore, those who are stubbornly stuck on the old order of the living or ruling. This both is true on the mundane level and on the individual level. As early as January 2024, Pluto will again be in Aquarius, and it will be increasingly clear to us that we have to choose between robotization or human liberation. And it's also quite possible that for a period of time, the world will be polarized or somehow divided based on that choice. And that's all for now what I wanted to say in this short video. You will find all of the contacts and recommended videos below this video on YouTube. You will find also newsletter in English on my web pages. Feel free to schedule personal consultations with me based on astro-psychology, spiritual astrology, Feng shui maybe, and also based on the method that I name the change of code, the change of perception. This is the method that I have developed in the last year through the techniques that I learned before. And on my web pages, I briefly explain how I see change of these unconscious programs. If you are watching these videos or similar videos, you should learn a bit of astrology, and I also have online astrology school in English for the beginners. If you like the video, like it, sign up for my channel, share the video, and thank you very, very much for that. I wish you happiness, I wish you stability, and I wish you positive changes. And see you soon.